So, I have a roommate and she is a devil, along with her little son. They're both devils. Well, I'm finding out that they've been stealing my food out of the fridge. I work as an emergency room nurse, and all these meals are very important because I'm out the door first thing in the morning and I don't have time to remake it. However, they think that they can just keep taking it, so I decide to set a trap. Let me tell you what I did. I'm Emma. I'm 29 and female, and I recently have a roommate from hell named Sophia. She's 33, and she has a 7-year-old demon spawn, Max. At first they seemed alright until everything descended into chaos. My old roommate Julia and I have a tidy home, and a rapport as responsible adults. We were best friends who synced up perfectly, keeping a clean house, splitting chores, having relaxing girls' nights with face mask and trashy reality TV. But then, Julia moved out suddenly to get married, sticking me with these lunatics. Against my better judgment, I let Sophia and her hellion kid move in. Oh boy, big mistake. Right away, my carefully cooked meals started vanishing from the fridge overnight. And I don't mean random snacks, no. I mean my lovingly prepared burrito bowl, or chicken fried rice, eggplant parmesan, dishes I had meal prepped specifically for my hectic work week as a nurse. Gone without a trace into the thin air. At first I thought I was losing my mind. There was no way I could have absent-mindedly eaten 2 entire portions of spinach artichoke pasta when I was nearly passing out after a brutal emergency room shift. I clearly remembered packing the leftovers to have the next night. To get proof, I started labeling my Tupperware containers with masking tape and my initials, but it kept happening. The day after cooking a hearty lentil stew, the container marked E.M.'s lentil stew has been scraped completely clean. Not a single remnant left. This was no accident. We had a brazen food thief on our hands. Naturally, I assumed little Max was the culprit. I imagine the pudgy-cheeked munchkin was raiding the fridge when midnight hunger struck, as kids do. Surely his stressed single mom, Sophia, already had enough worries without monitoring his bedtime snack. So I gently brought this up to Sophia first before accusing Max directly. Hey, Sophia, no big deal, but I've noticed some of my clearly labeled leftovers vanishing from the fridge overnight. Could you please remind Max not to take my meals without asking first? Sophia glanced up from her phone looking puzzled, but then smiled and just said, "Oh, of course. So sorry about that. I'll talk to him right away about staying out of your stuff." I waited hopefully for a change in behavior after our cordial talk. But no, the thievery continued, and it was getting worse. Now, the thief did not even bother returning my glass containers, just taking the entire meals, leaving me with no leftovers or dishes. At this point, my sympathy wore thin and frustration mounted. Here I was, dealing with major sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion from marathon 12-hour shifts at the hospital. My time off was limited, so being able to meal prep healthy servings on my day off kept me sane. Having them brazenly stolen felt like a personal insult. Since politely asking Sophia to intervene did nothing, I realized I'd have to take matters into my own hands. This ends now, I resolved. I refused to let my hard-earned food get ransacked any longer. That's when I hatched a cunning plan to catch the culprit in the act. To be continued. Let me know if you think I'm starting to lose it dealing with these beasts. I have a feeling things are only going to get crazier. Update number 1. Okay, so picking up where I left off. Here's more tales of my nightmarish existence living with a legitimate nutjob named Sophia. To stop the fridge raiding, I launched what I secretly called Operation Green Medicine. Since I noticed Sophia and her feral child avoided vegetables like the plague, I started packing my meals with the most repulsive healthy greens I could think of. I'm talking Brussels sprouts, broccoli, spinach, kale. That'll deter the thief, I thought smugly. At first, my dastardly scheme seemed remarkably effective. The vanishing food tapered off, and maybe monsters can digest it, but produce without their stomachs rupturing, I mused. But alas, it was only a brief reprieve before Sophia caught on to my stealth healthification plot. Let me tell you, this lady was not very happy. The snide comment started immediately. Is this some kind of sick joke? Sophia would grumble in disgust, gagging on her plate of kale carbonara. What is this weird, mushy green crap? When I calmly reminded her that maybe a few more vegetables wouldn't kill her, she flew into an absolute deranged rage. Stop trying to force your weird health food on us, you psychotic hippie. You think you're so high and mighty with your disgusting veggie slop? I informed Sophia that I prepared reasonable meals for myself, not her, and I could not care less about her personal dietary choices. But suggesting she add a salad once in a while hardly constituted poisoning her. Well, that only made her more irate. Things escalated quickly, but this was just the start of her reign of terror. The worst was yet to come. What insane scheme was she to try to pay next? To repay my cruel trick? Stay tuned next time with more demented tales of surviving life with a madwoman. Update number 2. Forget messy dishes or minor spats. Living with my increasingly deranged roommate, Sophia, has become outright psychological warfare. That woman has no limits of her evil doings. It's as if she lies awake plotting her new ways to creatively destroy every meal that I cook. Finding my healthy spinach, pureed into an unrecognizable neon green splatter was traumatic enough. But lately her food tampering has become more psychologically twisted. Like the time she snuck anchovies into my beloved mac and cheese, knowing the overpowering saltiness would ruin the dish. Oh yeah, or the unspeakable occasion where she mixed my spring-form cake batter together with tuna before baking it, creating a revolting, fishy concoction as she cackled manically. Wow, I'd gag and dry heave with every abominable bite for this poisoned meal. When I demanded she season once before I vomit, she merely shrugged, saying it's payback for my health food. Her deranged behavior extended beyond the kitchen, too. She would let her insolent child Max leave half-eaten bologna sandwiches under my pillow and encouraged him to cover my bedroom door in chaotic permanent marker scribbles. When I installed a lock on my bedroom door to keep that heathen youth out of my private space, Sophia conveniently accused me of, quote, ostracizing her sweet child. Which is rich considering I once found him dangling my bras out the window like he was Tarzan with festive streamers. So I informed Sophia that until she gained control of her tantrum-throwing goblin, I had no choice but to barricade myself in my room for basic safety. She did not take kindly to these suggestions at all, and basically said something like, "How dare you blame my perfect angel and call him names?" The delusional creature even shrieked to me, "You're the real monster here. We're leaving tonight, and I'll make sure you never work in this town again." At this point, I've truly reached the end of my rope. I was hesitant to stop Sophia's depraved level. However, I refused to cower in fear of her deranged schemes any longer. This means war.exe has been activated. It was a war she wanted, then it's a war she'll get. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. Stay tuned for the epic saga conclusion. Well, will I emerge victorious against my deranged roommate foe? Add your suggestions for how I should handle the nightmare down below. I'll tell you what I happen to do. Update number 3. The hostile saga living with my psychotic roommate Sophia finally reached its deranged climax today. After months of walking on eggshells, her vile actions pushed me over the edge. It all started innocent enough. After a particularly hellacious 12-hour hospital shift, I just wanted to relax with my tasty vegan chickpea curry leftover. But when I opened up the fridge for the first soothing bite, I found my meal's been vandalized into a revolting brown puree slop of mess. Furious, I start banging on Sophia's door, demanding an explanation. When she sauntered out wearing a smug grin upon her face, I truly lost it. "What's wrong with you? Do you really have nothing better to do than destroy my meals like a pathetic, bitter woman?" Possibly not my finest conflict resolution moment, but the exhaustion had worn my sanity thin. Rather than apologize, the maniac just laughed wickedly in my face. "Oh, what's wrong? Can't handle a little texture change in your pretentious health food?" "Don't worry. I added a special little ingredient to spice it up for you too." Before I could question what vile additive she mixed in, she suddenly shrieked in distress. "How dare you insult me and my beautiful cooking, you jealous rageaholic!" Her eyes gleamed with perverse excitement as she added, "I should call the landlord right now and tell them that you threatened to murder me in my sleep." Well, at this point, any last semblance of self-control evaporated. With utter roars, I flung the contents of the pot straight at her, coating the psychopath and the walls in brown slop. We commenced into an epic brawl. Food containers hurled through the air, furniture overturned as we punched and grappled. It was a mayhem. In the midst of this, nightmare, a small fearful voice gave me a pause. Max, the little boy caught in the crossfire of his mother's lunacy, was peeking out from his room whimpering. While I had a moment of compassion for his plight, Sophia used that distraction to hit me over the head from behind with a handheld mixer. The deranged woman had no boundaries, nearly concussed but fueled by adrenaline. I tackled Sophia football style into the dish cabinet, determined to end this battle once and for all. But before I could put the direct hit to her and grabbed her in a headlock, we were interrupted by a startling boom at the front door. Turning out, our shrieking brawl had alarmed the neighbors enough to call the cops. As two officers burst in, I grinned triumphantly. Certainly they dragged Sophia away for instigating this chaos, right? Well, to my shock and outrage, the crocodile tear-spewing woman pointed at me and cried, "It was her! She said she'd kill me in my sleep and assaulted my sweet boy!" And that, my friend, is how I ended up getting hauled away in handcuffs instead of the maniac roommate I have. As the officers showed me the back of the cruiser, I took a glimpse at Sophia waving smugly from the stoop, with little Max clinging to her side. So for now, I sit stewing in jail on trumped-up charges while the deranged villain roams free. But mark my words, this is not over. The truth will come out. Let this be a warning never to move in with a seemingly normal roommate before doing a thorough background check, or you may end up rooming with the devil herself. I'll keep you guys posted on my crusade for justice when they finally release me from this madhouse. Final update. Hey guys. Well, it sure has been a while since I last joined you guys with the tale of battling my psychotic ex-roommate Sophia. Buckle up, because the saga finally came to a close with quite the twist ending. When I last left off, I've been wrongly imprisoned after Sophia deceitfully accused me of assault. My desperate letters pleading for assistance may have come across as somewhat unhinged, but I assure you, I was completely sane, just pushed to the brink dealing with a lunatic. After 6 long months incarcerated, I finally got my day in court. Sophia spun an elaborate web of lies on the stand, portraying herself as a helpless victim and me as a violent aggressor. I could only splutter in outrage as she sobbed about her trauma. Just when I thought my goose was cooked, salvation arrived. My trusty neighbor, Miss Fletcher. She hobbled in, wielding her walker. The cankerous old bat testified about Sophia's incredibly disturbed behavior that she'd witnessed during my imprisonment, cackling wildly while throwing trash on my lawn, blasting death metal at 3 in the morning, plotting to adopt my cat and, quote, accidentally let him outside. You get the picture. Sophia flew into a hysterical rage, sealing her deranged image. In the end, the judge saw right through Sophia's act and dismissed the charges. I was exonerated. Justice prevailed. I graciously agreed not to press charges against Sophia for false accusation, and I simply wanted the train wreck out of my life for good. Here's the real shocker, though. I recently caught up with my old roommate, Julia, who, by the way, remains happily married. She informed me that Sophia's moved on to terrorize a new victim. Guys, get this. She's now married to Ryan, Julia's husband. The crazy woman seduced him away from Julia and convinced him my innocent friend was the deranged one. Ryan believed her lies and even filed for divorce from his longtime sweetheart, Julia. sometimes the villains do win. So, while I'm grateful to be free and clear of that lunatic at last, I can't help but fret about her traps, ensnaring even more unsuspecting prey. Alas, I guess that's life. The Sophias of the world keep wreaking havoc while the rest of us try to restore some justice and order. If you've ever found yourself entangled with such villainous, reach out. I can provide support or just an ear to vent. And hopefully, relaying my traumatic tale helps others avoid psycho roommates. Anyways, guys, feel free to drop your questions down below. Guys, I came across a comment for today's story, and let me tell you, a lot of people were not happy about this comment. But there were some people who were agreeing with the comment. Let me just run it by you, and let's talk about it down below in our comment section, what you think about it. Here it is. Emma, I'm sorry, but I think you're missing a huge part of the story here. Living with roommates requires compromise, empathy, which you seem to have forgotten. Yes, Sophia and Max were not perfect, but neither were you. Labeling a kid as, quote, a demon spawn and engaging in a food war? Come on, that's pretty immature. I get being frustrated about your food, but the way you handled it is very passive-aggressive. You knew they did not like vegetables, so you used that against them instead of trying to find a real solution. And let's start talking about escalations. I mean, throwing food and getting into a physical fight? That's not how adults resolve problems. You had the option to move out or have a rational conversation, but you chose conflict. Also, you did not consider Sophia's struggles as a single mom, which might have explained some of the fridge raids. Empathy goes a long way, OP, in resolving conflicts, and it seems you chose retaliation over understanding. I think there are lessons to be learned on both sides here. Everybody sucks. That was the #1 comment on every single update. I want to know what you guys think about it. My name is Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day, and this is Mr. Reddito's Revenge channel. So, if you guys do enjoy it, go ahead, subscribe. I have plenty more stories coming your way. Have a great day, and remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.